what's the difference maker to get to that next level? So they a lot of them get to a plateau and they keep falling short. What do you do or help them with to get through that plateau?
I believe that the biggest challenge is the belief system. They have to believe in themselves and that they can do it, and discipline. And in working with the NBA players, lacrosse, Olympic athletes, the people that are most successful, they have done more than anybody else. The players, they're very successful. They stay after practice. Everybody leaves and they stay. And they stay another hour. They practice more than anybody else. They ask more questions than anybody else. They look for help more than anybody else. Even though they're already doing very well, they feel that they can still improve. They're always asking questions. What can I do to get better? What can I do to improve this? Is there anything else you think I can do? So they're always curious. They're always wanting to learn. They don't stop learning. They work on themselves every single day. They don't take days off. They don't have time off. Every day is a day that they're going to work on themselves. They're very grateful, very appreciative of everything they already have, which I think it's really important to appreciate and be grateful for what you have already accomplished as you continue to work on the other things that you want to accomplish in life or in sports. But the discipline is very important. And then the number one factor is the belief system. So when I work with them, after we set goals, work on the mission, the vision, we work on belief system. And that's something that can be changed. So that combined with the discipline uh, is what makes the difference from what I've seen.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of these athletes have similar upbringings, or is it just completely different? Is there one common denominator or something that you see correlated to the highly successful?
Completely different. I love to look. I look for patterns. Everything that I do, I look for patterns. That's how I became so interested in personality profile because when I started working with the MBA, I was helping the players to go back to school, get an education, plan a second career. And I used an inventory and I noticed there was a pattern. Out of 16 personality types, there's three there I saw more often. And I said, that's interesting. Why would that be? So I started studying that. And I learned that every sport attracts a certain personality type, just like in careers. And a lot of people, they're not doing well, they're a misfit. Like I was in psychology school, I didn't belong there. So I found a place that was right for me. So that's why I have in careers and in sports. So I love to watch the patterns. So I have been looking for, patterns, and I have not seen that in that area. People come from a completely different background. They have a different upbringing. They live in different countries, different cultures. Some people in the small towns, some people in the big cities. There is no pattern except their desire and their belief in themselves and a support system. They have not necessarily the same type of parenting, but they have supportive parents or eight parents or one coach. They had somebody that believed in them more than they believe in themselves. That was always there to be supportive. So that's what the pattern has been in my experience.
That's great. Yeah, when I think about high performers in general, not just in sports, I look back at my own life. Excuse me. I look back at my own life, and I just know the belief system that I had with my parents provided me the world to go try things, to succeed. And if whatever I was doing, I knew I had the support. And I think that that's always just that little comfort provides some great benefit. And watching the discipline that it takes in the different levels as you watch sports, like just to be a collegiate athlete, and the different levels of collegiate to pro, and what those individuals are doing. I've had lots of interviews where I've been able to interview the best of the best at whatever their industry is. Maybe the Green Berets that were the best special forces, or the Navy SEALs who are on SEAL Team 6 going into the greatest missions, Olympic athletes. There's a mindset and a shift, and it's almost like the discipline gets tighter and the goals get bigger, and they just start working towards them at a level. Like you said, they're just outworking everybody else. Talent only gets us so far, right? And then after that,
Exactly.
it's all about the work.
Yeah, it's a lot of hard work. There's also another factor that it's not consistent for everyone is leverage. Sometimes the experience they had in life was so painful that they want to change. They wanted a lot of players are the first ones to reach the financial level that they have, the first ones to get a degree in their family. So there are certain things that in their past experience they were very difficult that they want to change that for themselves, their families, their friends. They want to do something different. So the painful experience can be a motivator and then gives them the leverage to do more and to focus and be disciplined the way they are.
Yeah, that makes it makes great sense. Going back to the reference I made earlier, it's really funny. There's two things that you said that I look at as a parent. I like to relate things to real life because I think people can see themselves in stories of real life. And so when you're driving in the car and you're listening to this, I can tell you that my oldest son, I could be very direct to, and I could ask him direct questions. I could be strong. I could talk to him more like I'm okay to have someone talk to me, or vice versa. Where my youngest son, I could still remember the first time I ever questioned him about something that he had done in a game, and he was a young kid, and he just looked at me and started crying. And he said, "Don't you think I did my best, Dad?" And I remember going, of course I do. Why would I even ask that question? They're coaching us while we're coaching them. And understanding that they have differences allowed me to change the way that I coached, taught, and again, we always fail. So as a parent, I often will go back to the original version of me. It's not always the one you want to have come out, but those little things are crucial. And then the second thing, to the discipline or the traumatic experience or challenge to get out, I look at my younger son, and I look at him at 5 years old, deciding that he was going to learn to read, write, and see correctly. The discipline he applied at 5 is something that he still does in a really, really high level way, to the point where, even sometimes my wife and I look at each other and we're like, is this kid 40 years old, or is he 15? Like, what is he doing right now? And so, but it comes from that experience and the result, and him feeling that level of confidence to build upon, and knowing that if he puts in the work, the result is going to be there. And
Right.
those are just great for life. They come out and they help us in life, whether we become pro athletes, or we become, or you start a school like you did and create an entire movement of sports psychologists. You're changing the world in your own way, but your path helped you get there. And that discipline is what kept you focused.
Yes. Yes. The having that vision, there's a lot that you're going to have to do on the way to get there, and you're going to have to pay a very high price. So you have to be willing to do that. Successful athletes don't have the same lifestyle that most people their age have. If they're in high school, everybody else is doing something different on the weekends when they're resting and they have swim meets and they have games. they're competing. So they have a very different lifestyle. So there's a price you have to pay. And those people are willing to pay the price to get there.
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.